are you following the law of the land? Can I just bring in, just a minute, Mr. Poonawalla. I want to bring in a lawyer. Tanveer Ahmed Mir is a senior lawyer and deserves to know. Tanveer Ahmed Mir, look at the sequence of events. A PMLA case is filed against NewsClick. For the last 2 years, investigation is carried out. Now we are told the charges have been changed to UAPA. Journalists and even consultants and junior employees associated are detained. Their laptops are seized, mobile phones are seized. Do you believe due process has been followed in this case, or is it being short-circuited and subverted?
Well, Rajdeep, thank you for inviting me to your program. What I understand is that the Delhi Police Special Cell, cannot conduct a raid without first registering an FIR. And if that FIR is registered under the draconian provisions of UAPA 1967, then you have to first satisfy yourself whether the information which has been gathered in the pre-FIR inquiry by the means of sharing of information internationally, domestically, or from other law enforcement agencies, whether the conduct of anybody at NewsClick individually or collectively as a company or an association would come within the definition of unlawful activity as defined under Section 2O of the UAPA Act 1967 as amended up to date. There are only 3 ingredients there. If any act of any individual or association is geared towards secession of any territory from the Indian Union. Second is, if any association or individual acts against the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country, or does anything which is, promoting disaffection against the government or towards the state. Now, in terms of that, if any one of these activities so alleged fundamentally would come within the meaning of unlawful activity, only then the further provisions can come into play. My understanding is that if you look at 2022 bilateral trade between India and China, it is about $125 billion. Out of that, the Chinese companies or Chinese exports to India are at $118.5 billion. Now, the policy of the government of India is not to declare the People's Republic of China as a country which is inimical to the Indian Union. Otherwise, we would not be doing trade. That's only towards Pakistan. Now, if certain people are even receiving funding directly or indirectly from any person abroad, like Mr. Singham or his organizations, then primarily the UAPA cannot come into play. What can come into play is whether the provisions of 32, 35, and 37 of FCRA Act 2010 as amended up to date have been violated, which means that a recipient agency for foreign funds has to have an FCRA clearance to receive foreign funds for any kind of organizational activity or even for a trade or otherwise. So the special cell Delhi police going on and registering offenses under UAPA, which can be, Section 13 as punishment for commission of an unlawful activity, or further draconian in Chapter 4, which is a terrorist act. I don't think that from whatever I have heard, I don't have an FIR in front of me to peruse, but receipt of Chinese funds per se would not, or Chinese promoters' funds, as Mr. Poonawalla said that...
Let me stop you there. You've been very clear and explicit about that. I want to give Mr. Poonawalla therefore the final word on that. You've heard this, Mr. Poonawalla. Receipt of foreign funds If there is a violation, you can go under FCRA. To bring in UAPA is very dangerous and chilling. And as I said, you are doing it even detaining junior employees, detaining their phones, their laptops, and you're creating this sense of intimidation. No one says you don't follow the due process. Please follow it. But when you suddenly convert what seems prima facie a violation under FCRA into UAPA, then it is extremely dangerous, Mr. Poonawalla. That is where the threat to the freedom of the press comes.
Rajdeep, please let me answer this, and just 30 seconds without interruption, I request you. Tanveer is absolutely right. Supposing two organizations are trading and supposing some Chinese company has invested through the normal legal routes money into the Indian entity, it is allowed by law. So therefore that can't be seen as terrorism or as perpetuating terrorism until the time we have declared China as an enemy nation. He's absolutely right. But Mr. Tanveer, when instead of the direct route, you use an insidious route and part of your payment goes to a UAPA accused, and the agencies in law have a right to then further investigate, A, which has come in violation of PMLA, B, it has gone to a UAPA accused, and C, you are saying that this is about Modi's image being damaged and therefore it doesn't become a challenge to India's sovereignty. India Today has reported one aspect where a Chinese map which contained Arunachal Pradesh was sent to these people by Neville Roy Singham to be peddled forward. So there is a lot of other national security and territorial integrity things that have taken place in this. The evidence is with the agencies. Let the agencies investigate. Nobody has been detained, Rajdeep. I reiterate, please ask all of those people who have gone, have they been detained or are they being interrogated? Some of them have been left also, as per my
We've already had
Prabir
Purkas, another director of NewsClick, arrested. We've had the organization sealed.
Now, one second, Rajdeep. You were talking about those 14 odd people. Now you're coming to Prabir Purkayastha. Prabir Purkayastha has already been facing PMLA case and now he has been booked under UAP. This is your information. I have not seen the FIR. I am not going to comment on it. But if that is what you are saying,
so why were the journalists detained? Mr. Poonawalla, why were the journalists detained? Why were the journalists who have been critical of government policies being detained this morning and picked up early morning as if they are criminals? What was the need to seize their laptops, seize their phones? Come on.
One second, Rajdeep.
There were at least a dozen journalists who were brought today, this morning, to the special cell of the Delhi police. I am saying journalists are not above the law. But what is the nature to bring them under UAPA investigation? That's all.
Rajdeep, let me speak. You're speaking over me. Rajdeep, now you have spoken or you want to speak for some more time?
30 seconds. 30 seconds uninterrupted.
Please, I request you.
30 seconds uninterrupted.
Don't interrupt. You have said, in the pursuance of a case, which you are saying is a UAPA case, where the proceeds of the alleged crime money has gone to many people and the investigating agencies are calling them for interrogation, you are saying they are being hounded. So should they not be interrogated also? Secondly, which journalists as per you have been detained? Please give me their name, put out their names who have been detained, specific names. And thirdly, Mr. Fuad Halim, when he comes with this high moral ground, his State Secretary in Kerala, Mr. M. Govindan, when Asianet journalists and Mathrubhumi journalists were arrested, at that time he said, if you report against the government, if you do anti-government activities, we'll put you in jail. They are lecturing us. TMC, which arrests journalists, is lecturing us. Congress, which has a whole history, which you have rightly told the Rohan Gupta, is lecturing us. Today I am saying if any journalist has been wrongfully detained or arrested, he should employ Tanveer, and Tanveer ji should immediately go and apply for bail for him in the Supreme Court. What will stop him? The Supreme Court hears them immediately.
I leave it there. I leave it there. This is the one.
Mr.
Poonawalla, I want to end it here.